When political parties were busy taking credit for scrapping of electoral bond scheme earlier this month, another organization, Association of Democratic Reforms, ADR, in a statement said that it will continue its mission of reducing money and muscle power in the political system and making the political parties more accountable, transparent, and democratic in their functioning. Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I am Amogh Rohmetra and will be telling about 25-year-old ADR, a team of mere 26 people with a few partners across the country. ADR has produced hundreds of reports and led several judicial fights. A young team, most of them still in their late 20s or early 30s, is led by a retired Major General from the Indian Army in General Anil Verma. Over the years, ADR has become an important institution which has forced the electoral reforms in the country through its legal battles, impactful reports, and campaigns. A not-for-profit institution, as many as 11 professors from IIM Ahmedabad came together to establish ADR in March 1999. The same year, a PIL was filed by them with Delhi High Court calling for the disclosure of the criminal, financial, and educational background of the candidates contesting elections. They got a Supreme Court ruling in their favor in 2002. One of the founders, Trilochan Sastry, has done his bachelor's from IIT Delhi, an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and a PhD from the MIT USA. He is now with IIM Bangalore. Talking about ADR, tell us where the idea was born and where did the spark come from in 1999?
Yeah, in a way, it came even before 1999.
Okay.
I was much younger back then, and I was very concerned about the corruption in high places. I was also concerned about the way the country is developing. And I felt that unless the political system which controls the government starts delivering good governance, things are not going to improve. And I felt that one of the methods to make that happen was to try and clean up elections and the political system. So there was several scams, right from the 1984 Bofors scam to the fodder scam, and people in very high places, chief ministers, and apparently even the prime minister was involved in these kind of scams, all political parties. So we thought that we should do something about it. And the only thing that came to our mind was to file a PIL, public interest litigation, asking candidates to declare their criminal records. So that's how it started. I was going around talking to lawyers and saying, let's file this PIL. And one of the lawyers advised that the PIL will have a greater strength if it is not done by an individual, but it is done by an organization.
Okay.
So I had no idea how to form an organization. So I just looked at the list of my colleagues at IIM-A and requested some of them to come for a meeting. And in that meeting, I explained this is what we want to do. And they all agreed.
Right.
So we just formed the Association for Democratic Reforms.
Retired Major General Anil Verma has been associated with ADR as its head for a decade now. Verma retired from the army in 2013 and joined ADR in 2014. He thinks ADR has made a difference.
I feel, firstly, from the point of view of the informed voter, we have made a difference because our social media campaign is also very vigorous. And we have a very large number of followers on the MyNeta website and myneta.info app. A lot of people follow that, especially during the elections. The second achievement is, of course, these PILs, where we have got some very good judgments. How ADR started itself was this 2002-2003 Supreme Court judgment, wherein it was made mandatory for the candidates to file their affidavits with the Election Commission of India with the complete background details. And
financial, criminal, and educational background.
Yeah, so that was the basis on which the whole ADR started. And after that, there have been a number of important judgments which have come in our favor. which have to some extent, reformed the system, though there is still a lot to be done. We all know that.
From forcing candidates through a Supreme Court judgment in favor of disclosure of candidate background, criminal, educational, and financial in 2002 to being a petitioner in the 5-judge bench ruling that the anonymous funding through electoral bonds and companies are unconstitutional. ADR's has been a long journey. ADR's mission is to improve governance and strengthen democracy by continuous work in the area of electoral and political reforms. Here is what another trustee and a founder, Jagdeep Chokar, a former director in charge of IIM Ahmedabad, had to say about whether ADR has achieved their vision.
In some ways, people say we have achieved a lot. But I must say that we set out to reduce the impact of criminalization in I am sad to say that that has not happened.
Okay.
If we look at hard data, in 2004 elections, the number of MPs with criminal cases pending against them was around 25%. Now, in the 2019 Lok Sabha, it is 43% or something. So there has been an increase in the number of politicians getting elected to the parliament and state assemblies, despite what we have done. But we feel very sad about it. But people who want to keep our morale up, they say you have achieved so much that now at least we know that this is so. Earlier, we didn't even know that this is so. And in between, there have been several other things like the later judgment on electoral bonds and so on. So we have had several victories, so to say, but the state of politics and criminalization and money power in the politics of the country is still very, very disappointing.
Shelly Mahajan is one of the employees of ADR in the national capital. Having done her master's in political science with specialization in international relations from Jawaharlal Nehru University, she says educational qualification is not enough to join ADR.
I think more than qualification, what you really need to do is to be passionate about making, reforms in the political and electoral system. Because to be very honest, I have a background in international relations. And more than that, what has really helped me is more than that, qualities such as that you feel for the cause. And the kind of field in which we are operating, you need a lot of patience as well. Because these kind of wins that you've seen with the electoral bonds judgment that happen, other kind of landmark achievements that the ADR team has managed to achieve, all of that has been a struggle of over very many years. It doesn't happen that quickly. So I think more than educational qualification or just the skill set that we need, which is, of course, we need data analysis, we need to understand, qualitative and quantitative research. But I think that is more of an acquired skill. But more than that, I think one needs to be someone who is ready to be part of this long-drawn struggle, which requires a lot of patience and to be able to hold, accountability, kind of feel for the cause of electoral and political reforms and transparency.
ADR's journey can be best summarized through the cases it has won in the Supreme Court. After its fight in early 2000s to get candidates to declare their background, ADR was one of the organizations that fought the legal battle to allow the none of the above NOTA option in the EVMs. Following the Supreme Court judgment in 2013, for the first time during the 2014 Lok Sabha elections, the NOTA button was introduced. ADR had intervened in that case. The organization had also intervened in the petition filed by Lily Thomas and Lok Prahari NGO, where the Supreme Court ruled that a convicted sitting MP or MLA will be disqualified from holding his office in case the punishment holds more than 2 years of sentence. This is the case which led to disqualification of Rahul Gandhi last year after a Surat court held him guilty in the defamation case and announced a punishment of 2 years in jail. The decision was put on hold by the Supreme Court. In another landmark judgment based on ADR's petition, right before the 2014 Lok Sabha polls, Delhi High Court held both BJP and Congress guilty of taking foreign funding and violating the provisions of FCRA. The court also directed the government and the Election Commission to take action against them within 6 months. After the Apex Court dismissed the plea against the High Court order through a finance bill in 2016 and an amendment in 2018, the central government reduced the scope for scrutiny of funding of political parties. These changes were done retrospectively since 1976 when the FCRA came into effect. Recently, the Modi government brought a law for appointment of the members of Election Commission by a 3-member committee comprising of the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, the Prime Minister, and a Union Minister. This law resulted in nullification of another landmark Supreme Court judgment that ruled that the members of Election Commission should be appointed on the advice of a committee comprising the PM, Chief Justice of India, and the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha. Within ADR, there are 2 important verticals: Election Watch and Political Party Watch.
One is our Election Watch program. Now, this is an ongoing program which runs throughout, and we call it the National Election Watch. So this comprises of the partners all across this country that we have. So there are, I would say, 2 prongs to it. One is the grassroots level voter awareness campaigns that we do with the assistance of the partners in various states. I mean, the whole thing is planned out, budget is made, and we discuss it with them, and then they implement it before the elections generally, because we can't have it throughout the year because of lack of resources. So we focus on the period just before the elections. So they physically go out and do sometimes door-to-door campaigning and street plays and nukkad nataks and rallies and yatras and quiz competition, painting competitions, things like that. They interact with the general public. They go to schools, colleges, and interact with the students. The second part is the publication of our reports. We publish 2 types of reports. One is under the Election Watch banner, in which we publish the candidates' report prior to the elections, rather the polling date. We try to publish the candidates' background details, say about a week to 10 days before the polling, so that the people know what are the details of the candidates, what are his assets, what are the criminal cases against him or her, and so on and so forth. Education details, age, everything is there. Right. So that is put on our website, as well as we have this app called myneta.info. That's a website also, and it's an app also. So on that, complete details are available. And we have a repository of, I think, over about 2 lakh people who have contested elections so far. Their complete details are there. And these, of course, details we get from the affidavits filed by the candidates themselves and submitted to the Election Commission of India. So we download these from the Election Commission website, and based on those, we prepare these reports. The second vertical that we have, which generates reports, is Political Party Watch. So this deals with the reports pertaining to the donation reports, contribution reports of the political parties, their audited balance sheets, etc. So we analyze all those, and then we put out these things also in the public.
If you ask those in the organization, people in ADR do think they have made enough impact. ADR claims that in 2002, after its first Election Watch report about Gujarat elections, the Election Commission completed a massive exercise to verify information filed by candidates in the nomination papers and affidavits, and started proceedings against candidates with false declarations. 3 years later, in another state election in Bihar, when Nitish Kumar's Janata Dal United formed the government for the first time, ADR claims to have made an impact there too. Bihar Election Watch in October-November 2005 resulted in intense pressure on the Chief Minister designate due to extensive media coverage of candidate background. As a result, for the first time, Bihar had a council of ministers without any known criminal record. Amongst ADR's ongoing fights in the Apex Court include its petition to declare all the national and regional political parties as public authorities. This would bring these parties within the ambit of the Right to Information Act. The petition was filed on 19th May 2015. While opposition parties have lately been demanding 100% verification of EVM votes through VVPAT, ADR has now been fighting a case for the same in the Supreme Court for nearly a year. Its reports on electoral bonds, criminal backgrounds of candidates, and the MyNETA portal that inform the citizens about each candidate has made ADR a household name in political circles.
I think very few voters actually look at that data. Our information shows that we keep doing surveys that often voters are not even aware that this information is available. And even when it is available, we are not sure how much impact it has. But on the other hand, it has made a difference in terms of raising public awareness and in getting into place a whole set of rules, regulations, court orders, and even some laws and RTI judgments, which has made structural changes in the process of elections. For example, candidate disclosure, political party funding, etc. So all that has now become public.
25 years of ADR have not been without challenges.
Well, in the initial few years, we had all kinds of problems and challenges. In the very early years, it was a question of trying to persuade public authorities in doing what they were actually supposed to do. And persuading them that what we were asking them to do was not something out of this world. It was legitimate requirement for the people in the country. Secondly, we had in the very initial stages some issues with the media, who also thought we were a bunch of trouble creators and we were not doing anything serious. But pretty soon thereafter, when they realized that what we were doing is somewhat worthwhile, they were very, very helpful. We've had problems of a different kind. Our offices were broken into a couple of times and only hard disks of our computer disappeared. Okay. In the last few years, almost 8 to 10 years, we've had a severe crunch on our funding. Right. People seem to be apprehensive that if they give us money, they would have some difficulties with the powers that be. There have been offers of giving us cash, which we have refused to accept because since we want transparency from political parties and other institutions, we are liable to be transparent ourselves. There have been all kinds of difficulties, but I should also add that we have had tremendous support from the civil society in the country. We have friends, associates, partners in every state of the country who work with us on electoral and political reforms issues as and when need comes, although at other times they work on other issues. So there are difficulties and roadblocks from one part of the society, but there is tremendous support from the rest of the society. The major roadblock, I should say, are political parties. And I must say all of them. Some, when they are in opposition, they think that they would like to tell us that they are very supportive of us. But we somehow find all political parties, it is a very sad thing for me to say, we find them very unreliable.
While donations are a concern, those working at ADR say that more people are coming out to donate after the recent judgment on electoral bonds and selection committee for Election Commission. However, if one looks at voluntary contributions in ADR's annual income statement, the range varies from 10.22 lakh in 2021-22 to 1.8 crores in 2022-23.
The ADR's work, because it's about transparency and accountability, I think even a lot of donors have tried to be very safe. Some years, because if we have state elections happening, then the kind of proposals that we make and the kind of funding that we try to raise for comes for state elections. So it's smaller in number. But in years when we have Lok Sabha elections like this year or back in 2019, if you see, then obviously the funding pitch is also accordingly made. And we are able to raise larger funds those years because of the broad range of activities that we are trying to do. But mostly in the last few years, the funding has only dried up. It has kind of come down only. And now we're kind of trying, and it's only recently, the last couple of years, that we've tried to make use of crowdfunding as much as we can. And now with some of the landmark judgments that we've received last year with the appointment of the election commissioners and now with the electoral ones, the public has also been very supportive. Many people who have been, closely seeing ADR's work and have been long admirers, they have also donating money to ADR. But completely, every year is different from every previous year. Completely depends on the kind of activities that we want to do. Completely depends if in that particular year the corporate social responsibilities inclined towards a sector such as governance or accountability or transparency. So many factors are at play, and they kind of, determine the kind of funding that we are able to get in a given financial year.
Donors in the past have included the likes of Ford Foundation, Sir Dorabji, Tata Trust, Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiatives, Vikram Sarabhai Foundation, Thakur Family Foundation, and Lal Family Foundation. For ADR, it is far from what they wanted to achieve, but they feel they are making an impact. Thank you for watching. Do tune in to The Print for more such reports and analysis.